We are officially live, which is incredibly exciting because I have my very first guest on the show today. Only my second live stream and already having my first guest. So that is a very big deal. And it is also a big deal who I have here. So just a very quick intro. My name is Annabelle van Westrop, and I am a professional astrocartographer, used to be professional kiteboarder, which is actually a big reason why Bill and I here know each other, which we'll get into in a little bit. And today I have Bill on the show here with me. Um, he is a kiteboarding venture capitalist known for being Zoom Video's first backer and also the catalyst to the formation and founding team of Canva. Big deal. Hi, Bill. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
Would you like to
Annabelle.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, so Annabelle kind of hit it, but yes, I've been in venture capital since the early 90s and been lucky to partake in the growth of many industries and put my hand out in the moving water and participate in the building of a lot of companies, first in computer chips and then communications equipment and then data centers and then much later things like, TweetDeck and Zoom and Canva and Tango and things like that. And Gigaverse, of course, which we're using. So I'm proud and honored that you are using this to do your show.
Absolutely. I mean, you brought me onto Gigaverse. You are one of the founding investors of that as well, and obviously believe in this new platform that is really here to bring us together, which is one of the main reasons why I got excited about it. Because I really hope that everyone on the show today feels free to join the conversation, to put questions in the live, and be a part of this because it's extremely exciting.
Thank you.
Um, so I know we have a few family members here today. Do you want to? I think they're already in, but do you want to share who's watching with us today?
Yeah, my sister Lee, my brother Gus, my daughter Delphine, and I see also the CEO of Gigaverse, Omer, and some other Acti community members.
Incredible. How special. Welcome, everyone. I feel
Thank you.
honored. Great to have your family here because obviously today we are going to talk about potentially moving for you. We're going to look at your astrocartography map, see what kind of energy have you have in different places in the world, and the fact that your family is so interested and wants to join that conversation, and probably you're going to be pulling them along to the next place you want to move to potentially based on what you find out today. So very special to have everybody here.
Thank you.
Um, I'm just trying to think before we really dive in, because I also want to have a quick intro. Bill and I know each other for, I think I was 18 when I first met you on Maui, Hawaii. Is that right?
I think
Um,
that, yeah, I think that's right. I don't remember the year, but yes, a long time has gone by because you're clearly a lot older than 18 now.
Absolutely. A long time. That would have been about 13 years ago, I think, that we would have first met. I just started my journey as a professional kiteboarder, and I was invited by you and by Susie to join one of the Mai Tai events at the time that have now turned into Actai events. And that was, I just remember stepping into this new world of all these entrepreneurs and kiteboarders. And yeah, I was a kiteboarder, but it was so new to me and so incredibly inspiring. And I think since then we saw each other a few times. I was invited to a few more events, which on Necker we spent some time as well, which is incredible. You still go there, right, with your
Yep.
events?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing, yeah, we continue to go to Necker, which is Richard Branson's island, for those that don't know. We're triangulating the next one, I think, first quarter of 2026. That one's gonna be called Superhuman, and we have a bunch
Okay.
of experts on, lifestyle, longevity, ranging from, food as medicine experts to regenerative and functional medicine experts. Might be fun to have you there too. They'll be
Oh,
touching
I'd
on,
be honored.
yes, all kinds of things to do with improving health and wellness and living a long time.
Beautiful. I mean, you're doing incredible things, and I really love how you tie in water sports and kiteboarding in particular into all of your events because obviously that's a big passion of yours. So it's really incredible what you do. So yeah,
Thanks. Well, it
beautiful.
attracts a certain kind of person, right? I think I don't know a kiteboarder that is not, intelligent, resilient, never say die. That kind of personality. You can't be in the sport without that.
Exactly. It's a beautiful way to put it. I like that. Okay, so shall we dive into your astrocartography information? Because we have a lot to get through today. I looked into, you named a few places that you wanted me to look into that you would potentially like to move to in the near future. And I also have been looking into your home where you are currently, and I found a few places that you did not mention, and that kind of stood out to me on the map and thought that could be cool to bring
Very
in. And
open to
I
hearing about those. Yeah, because
I mean,
I
you have
need a
traveled
feeling.
so much. Yeah, you have traveled so much. I'd be curious to see if those places I found, if those were places you would have already visited or if they would be new to you. Great. To set that up, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Just give me 1 second to get that ready. Okay, share my screen right here. Okay. So just confirm that you can see your birth chart on the screen, all nice and sizable. Um, I know you mentioned that you're an intermediate, you have intermediate knowledge on astrology. This is your birth chart, so I'm assuming you have seen this before. However, for the viewers, I'm going to, and for you as well, I'm just going to go through some of the basics of your birth chart because the birth chart is really the base of astrocartography. Basically, what we see on a birth chart is what we're going to be seeing translated on the map. And so we will be going back and forth between that because as we move to different places in the world, your birth chart actually shifts in some ways. So that really brings different aspects of life to light. So just to go through this really quickly, I'm going to have my little pen out. Um, your birth chart is basically a map of where the planets were on the moment that you were born. So we're looking at the sun, we're looking at the moon, Jupiter, Venus, all of the beautiful planets we have out there. They were somewhere in the moment that you were born, and in that moment, they kind of share a story of what your life path is going to be, what areas are important to you, what your character is going to develop as. So it's a big map to who you are. And just to give a brief layout of what we are actually seeing here is we have all the planets, which are the little icons going through all around. However, they're kind of divided into 12 separate sections. We are calling those houses. Houses are basically the area of life. So we see number one is over here, and it goes to number two, number three, kind of like that. And each house shows an area of life. As of now, for the example today, to understand the basics, I'm going to go through the four main ones. And that would be here. The first one is the first house. That is a lot about who you are, how people see you, most of all, so how you come across. And has a lot to do with your physical appearance and really kind of what you embody, how you feel within yourself. And that is marked by the ascendant. And the ascendant is the kind of the point where the sun was rising, would have risen on the day that you were born. And then on the opposite side of the chart, we have the seventh house. And the seventh house stands for your partner story. And this is usually your marriage partner, your life partner. However, it also tells the story of any one-on-one interaction, really. It can be business partners and, any interactions that way. And it is marked by the descendant, means the other people, the other person in your life. It's really the one-on-one though, so it's not like whole community and friendships. It's really that one-on-one connection. Then on the top here, we have the 10th house, which is marked by the MC. This is your career story. It defines your career and your reputation. And then at the bottom, we see the IC in the fourth house. And that is your home story, your family story, how a place literally feels to you. So those are kind of the four main houses, and everything in between ranges from, money to health to community to travel. Those are the different areas of life that we will be touching on throughout the reading today. But to have an idea of these first four houses and also the angles that go with them, so the angles being the ascendant, the descendant, the MC, and the IC, those we are going to be seeing reflected back on the map as well. Because every line that we will be seeing is one of these angles. So, for example, an ascendant line together with the planet. So, if it's, that will be telling the story about how you will feel in that place, because the ascendant is about you and how you are feeling in your body. So, that's kind of the basics of what we are looking at here. Is that all good so far? You've seen this,
No, that's
right?
great. It's been a long time since I had a chart read, so I had forgotten what all those are. So this is a fantastic refresher.
Great. I think a refresher is always very welcome because there's a lot going on these maps here. And then too, before we go into the map, I just want to go kind of into the basic story, the base of who you are. Obviously, there's a lot of planets happening in your chart. This is not a birth chart reading, so we will not be diving too deep into who you are and your life story. However, I think it's good to have a bit of an idea, like who makes you who you are. And I want to start that first of all with your sun sign. The sun sign is kind of the sign that most people who don't know much about astrology will know about. It's the month that you were born, and your sun sign, you are a Gemini, and your sun is also in the third house. This is quite an interesting placement. Obviously, I know you a little bit, but Gemini, if anything, is incredibly intellectual. I think that part I don't have to doubt when it comes to you. Gemini is also very playful, and I think that's also a big part of who you are. You love to combine business with pleasure, obviously bringing the sport in. So I think that already describes you very, very well. And then it is in the third house, and the third house stands for communication. And, I mean, it can stand for multiple things, right? Because I know your family is also here. It also stands for brothers and sisters, for siblings. So that is also third house themes. But if I kind of just generally, and I obviously don't know your story in terms of siblings, but I do know your story in terms of communication because you actively help businesses, entrepreneurs grow their startups by mentoring them, by talking through them, by sharing your insight and your thoughts on how they could potentially be successful. Am I kind of getting that
Yeah,
right?
very accurate. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then next to that, we have your moon sign. And the moon sign, the moon next to the sun, is a little bit more about your needs and feelings, your emotions. And your moon is in the first house, so it's you have your emotions on your sleeve. Everyone will be able to tell if you are doing well. If you're not doing well, probably you're not afraid to share your emotions, just like you are not afraid to share your personal story today here live with the world. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's also in the sign Aries. Aries is super fiery. Aries is spontaneous. There's a lot of energy in Aries. And as we can already see, it is right next to your ascendant. So your moon and your ascendant again being how people see you, how you come across. Um, is this super spontaneous person, is an adventurous person, someone who's ready to go for an opportunity as soon as it comes your way, while being extremely open because you have that moon there. So, normally, like Aries signs, Aries placements can be quite harsh, but no, your emotions are all tied up in that. And there's a lot of, you know, being allowing to show those emotions as well. So I think that's really beautiful. And there's a big story there. Does all of all of this to you? And do you want to add
Yeah,
anything?
no, I can see that. I don't know that I communicate my emotions so much, but I think people
Mm,
definitely that know me well, they know they know if I'm feeling good or bad, obviously. And I think with respect to companies and investments, absolutely. I think I'm instinct driven, and there are many stories of me wanting to fund things that nobody else believed in. Zoom and Canva are obvious examples of that. I think Melanie articulates in many stories and podcasts that I think she got turned down over 100 times before she ran into me and I saw something and I just wanted to help her and helped her find a co-founder. Zoom was the same thing. Zoom as a video conferencing company that everybody uses now. I think around 2010, 11, 12, when I met Eric, um, most of the world didn't believe we needed another video conferencing company. But I saw it and I was willing to step up. And even when the company was kind of low on funds a couple of times, I just knew it was going to work. And so I was more just willing to go with my instinct. And I don't know if you call that emotion, but I just felt it.
That is incredible. I mean, yeah, that is emotion, but if anything, I also see that coming back in your chart here, actually. You have Neptune, which is all very intuitive and seeing the inspiration in things in the house of shared finances, building those relationships. You have a good eye. You also have your money story really is once again your first house is Aries. Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, and the planet Mars is in your second house of value, of monetary value, of these kind of stories. So that is the ruler of your entire chart, maybe of your entire life, if you will, is how you make your money, and probably in a
Interesting.
very caring way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Actually, yeah, because that does feel aligned. I who knows why that is, but yeah, interesting that it aligns with that for sure.
I mean, of course, you have, everything you have achieved in your life for any of this. I think, examples like you are beautiful because there's such a clear topic in your life that stands out, right? So a career path that is so incredibly specific. And to be able to look into your birth chart is very special. And to be able to kind of see that story come to life. There's some more stories there that I saw as well. Um, but yeah, there's some yeah, it's a clear story, let's put it that way. Do you have any more questions about your birth chart before we move on to the map?
No, I think that no, that was a great summary. Thank you.
Beautiful. Then I suggest we are going to start looking in where you are living now. So for that, I'm going to pull up the map, and now we are going to see we have a zoomed out view of the United States, just to have an idea of what's happening here. What are we going to be looking at? And these are the planetary lines that we see crossing the map in various angles and shapes and forms that tell your story across the United States, for now at least. And as I understand it, you are currently living in California, in
Yeah,
the
Silicon Valley.
perfect. So I'm going to zoom in over here. And the first thing we see is actually two main lines that are crossing this area. And as I mentioned before, every line is going to have an angle and it's going to have a planet. So for this first line, we're going to be looking at this black line that is coming all the way through here. You're kind of living, let's say, here. So I'm just going in. That's kind of correct, right? Maybe more inland slightly, but okay, great. So this line is the closest at the moment, and this we see here, it's very small, so I'll be explaining it. But this black line here is a descendant line, so it has a lot to do with there's a partner story there because it's a descendant line, and it is actually matched. It's together with the north node, the lunar north node. And lunar north nodes are beautiful. They show you a large part of your destiny, of your life purpose, generally. And now we are seeing this line quite close to where you are living at the moment, which is telling a story of meeting people there, your person. I don't know if you met your wife in this area, that would be another topic, but and I'd be interested to know if that's the case, but it would also really be you meeting
Her
business
career was
partners there.
there. Yes, I mean it's interesting. She was in Los Angeles at the time that
Oh my
I met
gosh,
her.
yeah. Okay. Is that where you met?
Oh, we met in San Francisco, but she was still in at UCLA at the time.
Okay, so this whole area, right? So, this is your partner story then, and it oftentimes is. There's not one line that tells you this is where you're going to be meeting your life partner by any means, but there are multiple lines that have a tendency to show that story. And it's usually a combination of factors that will kind of bring all of that together. But if anything, the North Node descendant line, partner line, is a massive part of meeting someone there that you would be destined with. But then as well, there's also that business side where it's still business partnerships as well. And I mean, how many companies or maybe single entrepreneurs, if you will, have you funded from, living around this area? I'm assuming there's a few.
Well, not so many from LA area, but obviously many in, Northern California, which is the Silicon
Yeah.
Valley is the place where, so many entrepreneurs migrate to because it's easier to get companies started there.
Yeah, exactly. And you are also, even if you find someone halfway across the world, but you were living there, you had that energy, because you're still in this area, you have that energy of people will come on your path, whether they are nearby or not, that bring opportunities, which is incredibly special. So that kind of counts for both LA and for San Francisco area because this line's kind of cutting halfway through the middle. And it is good to know that with these lines, the closer you are to them, the stronger the energy will be. But also, you can go quite far. Almost always, I don't recommend living directly on the line unless it's a very positive line. So in this case, both LA and San Francisco are roughly around strength, still strong to medium strength of this line, which is a very good impact, very strong impact.
One geography I didn't mention, I'd be curious what Perth, Australia looks like, because that's where I met
Okay,
Melanie Perkins, but you don't have to do that now, but, maybe for
we'll
follow-up.
look into that later. I'm going to write it down. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're going to bring in some more lines now because obviously this is not all there is to a place. And I'm going to be starting with, they're called Paran lines. They are horizontal lines that happen when two of the big planetary lines cross. So they are a combination of two different planets and kind of combine that energy, mix that energy into one general feeling. And it is good to know that these have a less far reach. So if you would move, let's say, 1 hour north or south of a region, that would already really change the energy of a place. So if we kind of zoom into the Silicon Valley area, the main line, if I'm correct here, is kind of this one right here, right? That's kind of right on that area. And this is a combination, this is a beautiful line. It is a combination of Jupiter and Mercury, which is, I could not describe it otherwise than expansion through words. So by communicating, there's incredible luck and positivity through writing, communicating, sharing these kind of stories, which is very beneficial and positive.
Is this line
And
only relevant to me, or is it to everybody in the world that is on this line?
this is only to you.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so this entire map that we're looking at is specifically to you.
Because of the alignment of the planets at the time I was born.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
got it. Thank
So
you.
yeah. So everyone is going to have, their North Node descendant line somewhere. They might have this similar paran, but it will be in very different places because it is all determined by where all the planets were at the moment when you were born. Yeah, that's why it's so incredibly unique, and we feel. So I always like to say, there's these places that people rave about in the world, and that you're like, "Hmm, no, I don't really see it." Or the other way around, you have a place that you're just blown away by and you want to keep coming back to, and no one else sees it. So that's kind of how this shows up. So this is an incredibly beautiful, positive line. The other line that we also see happening here, and I didn't mention it just now, but oh, my color just changed. That's nice. Is a Saturn ascendant line, and this is a line that has to do with yourself, how you feel. within yourself, and it is with the planet Saturn. And Saturn is not the easiest planet necessarily. It's a bit more restrictive, but it's also incredible discipline. Incredible being able to work hard and get things done like properly, do it well with full eye into details. So I'm really, if we kind of sum up what we are seeing so far in San Francisco or this area, is really, there's purpose for you there with meeting people and probably your wife being the main story there, but also incredible, like interesting business opportunities. There is a story of hard work and discipline within yourself, and there's incredible luck and growth. Any Jupiter horizontal line is just, you want to be on those because they're going to bring you abundance in multiple ways. So not a bad place for you to be. Any questions on that for now?
Nope, seemed to work out so far. Yep, so far so good.
Perfect. Then we are going to bring in one last set of lines, and I don't know if they will be showing up here, but we will have a quick look. No, they are not. So I'll be explaining those a little bit later. Um, then we're going to have a quick look at your relocated birth chart, because now we're going to be seeing how there's a shift for you in your, because you shared that where you were born is actually, you didn't spend too much time here, so most of your story was in San Francisco. So it is good to know that your natal chart, your birth chart, is your main story. That is always, wherever you go in the world, that is what you take with you. However, when you do move to different places in the world, other themes will kind of come to light. So if I pull up San Francisco, if you remember, we just saw your sun in the third house before, and now it has shifted to the fifth house. So what's kind of happening is your planets stay the same in the exact same order next to all the same other planets and in the same signs. It's still in Gemini. However, there's a shift in the houses that they are in, and therefore different areas of life are kind of more important in a sense. And what we are kind of seeing in the California area is that, first of all, your ascendant is now in Aquarius. So instead of Aries, that like fieriness that you have in you, that passion, we now have an extra layer of Aquarius is full of thoughts, full of big ideas, very innovative. Together with the planet Saturn here, which is, again, we saw that Saturn on the ascendant line, if you remember. So that's kind of what we're seeing now in your chart as well, and that's kind of showing you that seriousness, that commitment, being able to really see the potential and then really go for that and believe in it and work hard for it. So that's kind of the main story that we see here. And then another thing I really like here is that Uranus is now in the seventh house of partnership. So first of all, I mean, obviously, we spoke about meeting your wife in this area. We see that north node on the descendant very, very close. That is that meeting someone that is somehow related to your life purpose in this area. However, we also have this Uranus placement here, and the planet Uranus is technology, innovation, um, spontaneous and unplanned changes, also a little bit of chaos sometimes, but mainly that technology and innovation. So for you to be mainly invested into, technology and software and these themes, bringing that into the seventh house of partnerships is you funding them, making into one story, if that kind of makes sense.
No, that all seems to fit. That definitely, yeah. I mean, the innovation, hard work in a technology environment, and I did meet my wife around here, and I
Yeah.
definitely fits.
And how does it feel for you? Because you lived here for quite a while. How do you feel living here? What are some of the good and bad sides to it?
Oh, well, it's obviously a place where there's a lot of people that come here to be with other people like them, which is why I
Yeah.
think I came out here originally, as a computer chip designer. I didn't have a lot of people to talk to outside of this area. So when I came here,
Okay.
it was fun because there were other people that were driven by the same interests to learn and push and build. And that's, I think, the character, uh, very much was the character of this place for decades. Now it's a little bit more financialized, too many people here are transactional, trying to just make money, but it still has the roots of, fueling innovation, so it's a good place to be for people interested in it.
Amazing. And I guess now we are going to look into a few places that you might want to move to. Are you now looking for a bit of a shift in energy for maybe more peace and quiet? You mentioned community and health are important aspects to you.
Yeah, when I first came out here, it was, quite, I mean, it's such a different place because it was primarily still pretty agricultural when I came out here, and, a lot of orchards around, very, um, nature oriented, and, I think the ethos of California is still like that, but it's gotten quite overbuilt. So I am funding, I've got a housing thing in Jackson, Wyoming, right up in the mountains. Wyoming, that part of Wyoming is a lot like Switzerland. So lots of lakes, lots of trees, forests, very outdoorsy. Bend, Oregon is the same, similar. It's a high desert. It's a little less green, but just four seasons and beautiful, most of the year. Uh, California is kind of, because it's coastal, it's, nice most of the year, but it's pretty much the same. So you don't have too many,
Yeah.
change of seasons. Um, yeah, so I'm looking at a few other places, and I do spend some time in both, Jackson and Bend, Oregon.
Mm, nice. All right. Well, let's start with those two. I think that's a good idea. And I will be zooming out a little bit again. Okay. Um, just to make sure I get a good overview of the United States. There's a lot happening now, so I'm going to turn off some lines again. It gets extremely busy as we zoom in. So let's look into Wyoming first. If I am correct, Jackson is roughly here. That am I
Close
getting
enough,
that
though.
right?
Yeah.
Close enough. I think it's pretty close to the border as well, right? To the
Yeah, to
um,
Idaho, yes.
state border. Yeah. Okay, so I'll kind of just circle that area. Um, what we see here immediately is one line that is moving straight through. It is this dotted line here. And it is a vertical line. It is an IC line, meaning it has to do with how you feel in the place, like your home, like how the place itself feels to you, and also how it would feel as a home and living there, what's kind of important. And it is matched with the sun. And the sun is a beautiful planet of it means your willpower, your identity, really feeling like yourself and feeling comfortable in a place. Having a home line, an IC line, is great for that. And with the planet, with the sun, the sun, especially for you, is all about communication. And in that intellectual sign, Gemini, it's expressing, being able to express who you are, and the place will feel quite lively there, being so close to that sun line. And like I mentioned before, with a lot of these lines, I wouldn't recommend being directly on it, but the sun I see is not a bad one necessarily to be on at all. It's actually a supportive one. So that is an interesting place to start. Then we do have a few other lines that have an impact as well. We have a Uranus descendant line here. That's a partner line, has to do with potential partnerships. Again, with that planet Uranus, which is innovation, technology, unpredicted changes. And that one's on medium strength. So you'll still definitely be feeling that one. Then this one gets a little bit far out of reach. And if I zoom out slightly, I know, yeah, see, on this side here, we have a couple more lines. So these are actually those similar lines that were passing through California. So we've seen those before. That's now that Saturn ascendant, so that kind of that hardworking self. Um, is playing a part there as well, and that North Node descendant. So to be going there with your family, with your wife, and settling there with your partner, because it is that partner line, that purpose line with your partner, is not a bad thing at all. It's not directly on there. There's just some gentle influences around. But the main story here is really that sun home line that's going to make you feel very at home. And, if I do look at places for people to live, sun line, sun home line specifically, is one of the places I will look for first. So the fact that Jackson is exactly on that line is quite special and is a very good sign. Then, if I bring in my parans again, my horizontal lines, I'm going to quickly, I want to know where it is, because, oh yeah, that's where it was. I remember. As we zoom in, it was exactly um, on this area here. It's exactly on the intersection of these two horizontal lines passing through. And these lines are very interesting. First of all, it's the sun again, together with the North Node combined. So this is really a place of leadership, of potential, of strength. Really being able to be seen. Obviously, you hear this, and I'm curious to hear if this is stuff you are looking for, because that's the other half of the equation that's incredibly important. But the sun is really, it inspires us to follow our goals, and it kind of shows us where we can step into our potential. And perhaps, your goals are shifting as you move here. Maybe your goals at this time in your life are going to be different, and therefore it can kind of open up a space for new goals, let's say. And then also the one just above it is Uranus together with the asteroid Ceres, which is almost, I mean, Uranus, once again, technology, innovation, it keeps coming back in your story. So I feel like your work is not quite finished when you move here. I don't know if you're planning on retiring anytime soon, but that's not, it's not looking like that quite yet, because there's a lot of energy here. There's a lot of power here. But there's also some comfort because it's matched with the asteroid series, and that brings a bit of springtime feeling, a bit of comfort in that energy.
No, that is a fit. I've been, working with some folks over there so Wyoming as a state is very progressive with respect to a type of technology called blockchain. So kind of
Ah,
new financial instruments and things like that, and there's a Wyoming Blockchain Association driven by a friend of mine, and, it's a, state that, I guess loosely I would say what Switzerland is to Europe or what Singapore is to Asia. Wyoming kinda wants to be that to the United States, so it's sort of a, kind of well-run state. It has run a surplus as a state for 40 or 50 years. They actually have a $30 billion sovereign wealth fund as a state and a chief investment officer. So I helped them get kind of traction around a Wyoming blockchain conference last year, and and I am working on some things with some trust companies there to kind of in a second career for a investment operation there. So you know, it, it fits. Anyway, we'll see.
nice. And is so that is kind of what you're still looking for in the next years as well, to continue that partnership and that growth,
Yeah,
and to not sit still and read books for the rest of your
I'm not gonna sit around. No, no. It I definitely will have, kind of a, yeah, so things to do, um, in the decades coming forward.
Amazing. Yeah, okay. So there's some good energy for that. There's a continuous theme of you working within, technology and investments and all of these stories. But at the same time, there's more of a home story now than there is in the California area. There is that sunline that is gonna create and also make the theme of home important. And I think that's also a big part of what you're going to be looking for, and to be able to enjoy the place for what it is and enjoy that nature and everything that's so much nicer there. Then there is another set of lines that I was going to bring up earlier, but I will do now. And these are called local space lines. And it's not too easy to see, but one just popped up around here. So just remember we are staying around here. And there's this line here, it's horizontal. If this is a local space line, I'm going to zoom in, zoom out a little bit to be able to show you what these do. Um, because these kind of, you see here, this is where you were born, and they all kind of originate from that one place. They kind of like burst out from a single point. And I always like to explain it like if you were to look up at the sky on the moment you were born, and you would have pointed towards the sun or towards Venus or towards Jupiter and make a direct line between you and that planet, these lines kind of show that. And it's a third layer of energy that we are going to be looking at. And it's really more of a touch. So you have to be almost directly on that line to really feel that. There's not much of a range in that, but it just kind of adds another layer if you're following that direction of that line. So if we, oh, that's Oregon. If we head back to where we were, and we are kind of now seeing, this was the place. Here we have this line. It's very close. It's really passing very close. This is a Chiron line. And there's a certain, Chiron is the asteroid that stands for healing, for pain, for trauma. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be healing from, it could be a beautiful healing process. There's many ways you can interpret that. But perhaps if I, look at your story, it could be a place where you start to shift your life towards a little bit more peaceful or calm, if that is something you're going to be looking for at all. But there could be a healing in from what you were to what you kind of where you want to shift into. You're not directly on that path, so it's more of a very soft extra layer, but nothing that I'm worried about. If it would be going directly over, I would be a bit like, that could be intense. But in this case, nothing too much to worry about. So that's kind of what the lines are showing in Wyoming. And then if we go back to your birth chart and I pull up Jackson, Wyoming here, is this right? I don't feel like that's right. I'm going to very quickly have a sneak peek if I am in the right track. Jackson, Wyoming, yes, that's right. Okay. So we are kind of seeing the same story here as in San Francisco. Not a whole lot shifts because we still have the sun in that fifth house in Gemini. So this is a similar, your birth chart doesn't shift versus California to Wyoming. So it also will not really do that in Oregon. So similar themes are going to keep playing a role. And that's kind of what we already saw in the lines as well, actually, is kind of these themes that you're already going through now. That's kind of, it's that you're staying within that energy. What I'm really liking here, but specifically about this area, is you have Venus here in the sixth house in Cancer. And Venus is a beautiful abundant planet, stands for love and for um yeah, general abundance, really. And it's in the sixth house, which is great for health, which is a great placement for health and for daily routines, for, keeping up with your work. Cancer is quite a nurturing sign, so there's some softness there. So you can really, I know your health is important to you and your sports and these kind of things will continue to feel good there as well. So that's an important part of it. Then your fourth house, which is that home place, is in Taurus, which is linked to Venus again. So that's also beautiful. You have Mars there, which used to be in your natal chart, that planet of money, but here you're quite driven to make your house a home. I would almost say it because Taurus wants a very comfortable home with a nice lush garden if possible. And Mars is kind of with that Mars energy is going to drive you to make that happen. Then we also have, these planets here, the Sun, Mercury, and Ceres in your fifth house of pleasure, how you have fun. It's also the house of kids. So I know you have your kids, and I think you were probably in the general area where your birth chart was this way, California and all of that, where you did have your kids. So the sun kind of brought that focus to this house. But it's also the house of, how you have fun, your communication, Mercury of communication is sitting there as well. So I see that as a very positive placement. So that's all good. And yeah, it feels not bad. Another nice placement I like is actually the moon here. It's sitting in your third house, which is great for community, for meeting people, for kind of enjoying your local surroundings, even if it's just going to, I don't know, the bakery or a local coffee place, or these kind of things. The moon there is a beautiful placement for appreciating that as well. How's all of that? Is it a lot? Are you able to follow all of it?
No, yeah, I definitely can follow it, and, of course, I think anytime you have a reading like this or astrology, you're always looking for things that are signs of alignment, and so I don't know, if I'm reading too much into it, but, yeah, I have pictured the little complex that I've, been funding as a place for grandkids, and, if all my kids have a place there and they can all, cluster there over whenever they wanna be there. A little complex. That's what I had in mind, and, it's a small town. So it's a nice town, but it's a small town. So when I'm there, it definitely has, uh, that feeling like it's a community because I feel like I know a bunch of people that are there already, and, because it's not as, populated as Silicon Valley where there's literally millions of people and hundreds of thousands coming and going in the valley. Jackson's a little bit more of a stable kind of community that is they're it's smaller, so I think people know each other a little bit more there. So it fits. I mean,
Nice.
it's the kinds of themes that you're discussing.
Completely, completely. That's really good to hear that at least it resonates, and obviously you have been there before, so you already know what it feels like to you. Obviously, every place you go to, there's always pros and cons. So I can sell it as this beautiful thing, but wherever you go in the world, every place is going to have pros and cons, right? And if anything, what I'm looking for is that you could stay quite serious with Saturn in that first house. Not that I need to now voice out these cons, right? But I do think it's good to know that it's not all sunshine and butterflies. You're going to have your hard placements somewhere, wherever you go. Another thing that I don't absolutely love is Pluto is here sitting in the eighth house, which could um in the worst case scenario point to losing people, but it can also be just intense energy. Eighth house is a loss, but is also um being more interested in spiritual aspects, the occult almost. It's also shared finances, so there could be Pluto's transformation, so there could be a transformation in shared finances, things, how things are looking. Those are some of kind of the harder signs. But when it comes to Jackson, Wyoming, it is definitely one of the my favorite places that I have found for you through all of them, in a sense. I'm quite a fan of what's happening here in your chart and on the map as well. So, having said that, I think we should have a look at Oregon. And I'm gonna, as we're now getting more comfortable, I'll go through them a little quicker just because we have so much to get through. So, we are going to be looking at Bend, Oregon. And this was quite, I'm going to quickly move the chart because I want to remember exactly where it is. So
You
that's
keep
sitting
going.
right here.
I'm gonna step away just for a second, but keep going. Keep my image will be there, and I can
No problem, no problem. So we have Bend, Oregon right here, kind of in the center of Oregon. And I'm going to move that back again. And I'm just going to mark that. There we go. Oh, it's okay. We're right here. So what's happening here is we still have that same north node descendant line. It's kind of tucked away in the corner here, but we have the north node descendant line. So that those kind of similar stories play And again, beautiful place to move with your wife, have that shared energy there together. And then what I also really like here is we spoke about those local space lines just before that come from your birthplace. And there's two passing through right here. One of them is Jupiter, which is a beautiful planet of expansion and of growth. And the other one is Chiron, which is potentially that pain and healing. We saw the same one in Jackson just now, but we're kind of in the middle of them. So we're kind of getting maybe a touch of each. And um, that's not bad at all. That is great. Um, thank you so much, Omar, for watching. Really appreciate having you here for a little bit. I hope you have a great day. Mm. So as we look at Bend here, we also have two parens. They're kind of far away. I'm making it a bit messy here now, but they're kind of far away, but we still have a little bit of an energy. And they're actually the exact same energies that we had in Jackson. It's almost like we're all staying on the exact same line as Jackson. So a lot of these themes are going to stay the same, and even the main lines, because we're still kind of in that tucked away in that corner of the United States, right? So when it comes to what I'm seeing on the map, it looks great. And actually, like I said, very similar to Jackson. So I'm not seeing too much there that would have an impact. Then if we go to, and I'm going to have a sneak, no, this is indeed, I know for sure, this is Bend. Same stories in your birth chart. So Bend and Jackson are very, very similar when it comes to it. Um, so actually, both great places. The only thing that was slightly less interesting to me was that your career, there was a shift in your career, and I'm gonna show you. If we go back to Jackson, your MC is here in the 11th house of community. Your MC is that career story and your reputation. And the 11th house is networks and hopes and dreams. And it is in the Sagittarius, which is very adventurous. And when we move to Oregon, it actually goes into Scorpio, into the 10th house. So there's a bit of a shift in energy there. It is not a bad shift, it's nothing bad, but it is kind of where Sagittarius in the 11th house is community, network, and very adventurous. Scorpio is a bit more secretive, a bit more, it's skeptical sometimes, can also be um, very, very particular and wants honesty. That's actually very authentic, which is Scorpio, which is beautiful and not a bad thing at all. But I kind of liked having the MC kind of in that 11th house, especially because community is an important aspect. So that's why I kind of liked Jackson a little bit in that. And then the other shift is that your IC also, because the MC and the IC are always exactly opposite. That one also shifts from that fifth house of pleasure into the fourth house of home. That shift I don't mind. That is beautiful either way. I kind of like having that home energy either in the fifth house or in the fourth house. They're both beautiful signs, Gemini and Taurus. So that story I don't mind. So the change here is tiny. It's a very small shift in energy. And therefore I don't see anything that I'm like, okay, base your decision between either um, on something we're seeing here, because both are generally very nice places to live. And I'm seeing the same story.
No, that absolutely makes
Oh,
sense too, and I think my
okay.
business contacts and my network for building things is better and deeper in Jackson for sure.
Okay.
Bend is a beautiful recreational vacation style place, and I really don't have many I don't have any business contacts there. It's just really just a nice place to hang out.
Okay. Ah, I see. I see. Yeah, so maybe indeed, I mean, and that's the nice thing, right? Astrocartography is a reflection of what is already there. I'm not telling you that you can create stories somewhere based on this. No, what you've experienced in each of these places is what we're kind of seeing on the map here. So I mean, your intuition or your feeling is already kind of like, well, Jackson's better for this, this, and that.
Yeah.
Even though you're looking at Bend as an option as well, which you can definitely, there's at least not a clear, oh, maybe just forget about that one, but intuitively, for sure, Jackson does feel like the better fit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Good to get that confirmed. So let's move on to a little bit further across the world. Well, we'll definitely be seeing some different themes, which is going to be Switzerland. Switzerland is a place you asked me about. I am sure you have visited there as well. So far, how has it felt for you in Switzerland?
Yeah, I have spent quite a lot of time there, and I think, I'm usually there in the winter time when it's ski season.
Mm. Yeah,
It's a very Switzerland, of course, very well-run country, very safe, very clean, a little sterile, but good lifestyle, very expensive, but I think feels safe. It feels
yeah,
very protected, safe. We're not going to have world chaos there if and when things fall apart in America
exactly.
or other places in the world. So, yeah, it seems like a refuge.
All right. And is there a specific place in Switzerland where you would be most interested in?
Probably Geneva.
Okay. All right. So, what Switzerland's telling us, there's a lot less going on when it comes to lines, as you can already see when we look at the main lines. There is one just across here, which is quite far to the right. We're still feeling that one. That one is still actually medium. Europe is quite small, so every line that's in Europe, you'll kind of generally is still within range. And this is a moon line, and it has to do with your career. And this is that you have that moon in Aries, which is very yeah, that kind of feeling, intuitively feeling these opportunities, right? And seeing this energy. So now normally that is in your first house of who you are. Now that shifts to your career story, which is kind of interesting. There's a certain level of softness with the moon, which is beautiful, so I don't mind that in the energy. Um, so that's interesting and that's positive so far. And
Moon
that's
meaning
it.
meaning softer, meaning not as fiery, not as active, not as, what does that imply? The moon versus
It
Aries?
just means, well, no, the moon is in Aries in your chart, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
wherever you go, the moon will always be in Aries. However, first it was in your first house of who you are. So it was more about that feeling within who you are. And
Okay.
now it is shifting to your career story, to probably the 10th house. We'll be checking your relocated chart just now. So it is almost like that fieriness that's normally within yourself is now going to shift to your career. So that is so interlinked for you. I feel
Yeah,
that
it is.
might not feel as the biggest difference,
Mhm.
um, but there might be a bit more. I could see you, for example, investing in things you're very emotionally connected to, or
Mhm.
going more into like humanitarian efforts, which I know you're already doing a lot of
Yeah,
that. But the moon kind of brings in that like a bit more emotional way of
yeah.
thinking business wise. Yeah.
Interestingly, I have funded, partially funded, I'm not the only one, a fund in Switzerland that is set up for tech for good. So it's still, funding startups, but it is, funding mission-driven startups.
That is so interesting. Yeah, and I mean, even if you are in Silicon Valley, but you are doing that for Switzerland, even if you're not even there in person, those energies are there for you. So you are still remotely activating those energies, actually, which is really cool to hear. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
The other thing I see in Switzerland is we have one horizontal line here, and it's actually very close to Geneva. This is the one I'm not loving this line. Let's see. That's a bit of a hard line. It is Venus combined with Pluto. And it can go two ways, but 9 out of 10 times this is a challenging line. It can be quite dramatic, passionate relationships with which can be good or bad, I suppose. There can be themes around jealousy or obsession or some power dynamics, which could be, in any of your relationships around you. And it almost feels like relationships are constantly in upheaval. So that's the one thing. The other side of it, if it does go the other way, it can really create intensely deep bonds and loyalty with other people. So it's almost this utmost like devotion or loyalty to other people. So that's the
And
other
then
side of
the
it.
loyalty of me to other people or other people to me?
Correct.
Okay, me to
You
other
to other
people.
people, I would say. Yeah. So you
Okay.
can really create those really strong emotional bonds with others, which is a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. But there is definitely some upheaval in your relationships. Now, these horizontal lines, they can really kind of constantly you can feel that energy, or it's like a one-time event that kind of happened. Like all of a
Okay.
sudden, there's like a conflict with it of interests somewhere.
And is
You've
that
been to
is that
Geneva
anytime no matter where I am or only when I'm there?
just when you're there on that line. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And especially close to Geneva. If you go up to Zurich, for example, or other places more northern within Switzerland, you'll feel that already a lot less. This is where distance starts to really make a difference. How do you feel whenever you're in Geneva? Because kind of looking into these energies now.
I like it. It's, I think because it's such a pristine and beautiful place, and there's a nice lake in town, and, it's nice, but
Mm.
I haven't felt any emotive distress there yet, so I
Okay.
guess I'll be more aware of it as I go next time.
It's one of those things, right? Like I said, it doesn't have to be this hugely influential energy. There is that line. So would I normally say, "Oh, go live directly on it," because you're very, very close there? Probably not. But it's also not a deal breaker completely. It's not that this one line is going to break the entire possibility of Geneva at all. So
Okay.
don't worry about it too much. And then let's have a look at your relocated chart here because that will have, okay, I'm gonna have to find Switzerland now. So that would be this one. I think I'm gonna have to sneak peek again. Yes. Oh, here we go. What happens in Switzerland? Actually, some things that I do really like is that now we have Venus in the first house. So there's a lot of abundance within you. There's a lot of softness because it's in the sign Cancer. Really like that. You'll be feeling really gentle within yourself, like nurturing energy. You might be wanting to nurture your family or, enjoy a warm bath and stuff like this. I'm kind of imagining, right? The place, the home the place at home is now in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So there's a lot of gentle energy here. So when you say you really like the surroundings and how pristine it is, I think pristine is such a Venus way of wording something. So that's really kind of explains you how the place is for you, which I really like. Um, you do have the sun here in the 12th house now. You might be a little bit less expressive. You might be a bit more inward on your own personal journey, enjoying your own home. It's a little bit more isolating rather than outward, where normally you are quite outward and spontaneous and adventurous. Here I'm seeing a lot more softness within you and a bit more inward energy, which again is not a bad thing whatsoever. It's just a very different way of feeling, right? What else am I seeing here? I am seeing the North Node in the second house, so there's some potential of investment there. So perhaps to have, a second home, or whether it is going to be your home, there is definitely some potential there. Also, Uranus again. So the fact that you're already working with businesses there is very fitting. Um, and yeah, there's some beautiful energy when it comes to you traveling there. So I think that's kind of how I would describe Switzerland when I look at it that way. There's just a bit more softness, which is not a bad thing, which is kind of a nice thing sometimes.
No, it makes sense. It is a place where I feel calm when I'm there and, safe and secure because it's, very rule of law. You know what you're gonna get. Things are not,
Yeah,
not unpredictable like they are becoming in the United States.
exactly. Yeah, that's really what I'm seeing here. And maybe that is a beautiful thing to be able to go there and have that. pristineness. And even that one harder aspect that I saw with that line, if you know that perhaps you are more prone to having some relationship upheaval, just be aware of that. And whenever there any conflict starts, whether that is in your marriage or with business, just kind of say like, okay, where's this coming from? Can I shift the energy? It's almost this like just being aware sometimes that can already help us shift that.
Great. Thanks.
Cool. Then we're gonna have a quick look at Dubai. That's quite an interesting one as well.
I just have
And
had so many friends move to the UAE, the
is
last year.
it
Yeah, and I historically have never had interest in living there because it's too hot, you know, but I'm just curious what it looks like because so many friends have gone there.
for sure? Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I'm immediately seeing is this line, this Uranus ascendant line going straight through, which is, again, it's a line that has to do with you, how you feel within yourself. And it is Uranus. And again, Uranus is the planet of innovation, technology, but also of unexpected changes and a little bit chaotic. So you might feel a bit more like, oh, now we're going to do this and now we're going to do that. And I'm going to buy that house. And no, maybe I want something else. I could almost feel that like Uranus energy is not calm, but there's definitely potential there. If you want, some energy and some yeah, change it up a little bit, Uranus is going to give you that energy kind of. So that's very strong. Would I recommend living directly on a Uranus line? Can be a lot, can be intense. Maybe not the first thing I would recommend, but interesting to go. Have you been?
Yeah, yes, a couple of times, and it's always,
And how does it feel
that's
when
when
you're
we
there?
it's exactly like you described. I mean, of course, we're in a period now where a lot is happening in the Middle East, generally speaking, and
Mm,
UAE and Saudi Arabia are both funding a lot of internal development to shift their economies away from just oil. So
yeah.
um, yeah, there's a ton of things happening there in digital finance and startups, and I get asked to do a lot of things there, and I
Okay.
don't go so often as I'm asked because it's a long way and a little
Yeah.
difficult. But,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not where we just kind of spoke about Switzerland being this like gentle, pristine place to be. This feels very much the opposite. This feels
yeah,
like as chaotic and intense as it gets, which, once in a while is good, but it's not going to give you that peace that you'll be looking for anytime soon. And then if we zoom in, and that I do really like, 'cause there's two beautiful lines here, and the first one is the top one is Sun together with Uranus. So there's again Uranus energy strengthening again that
mhm,
Uranus energy, but this kind of is a line that brings new changes. It's very it brings individualism. You're creative, you're excited, you're learning new things. People know who you are. You're very charismatic. So a great place for you to be and to use the energy of the people there. That the energy of the place, kind of, if you do feel like yeah, interesting new changes within yourself and with others.
yeah.
And
How
then
how
so
hard
there's
is it
quite
for Yep. How hard is it for you to spin up another place? I'm curious what Perth, Australia looks like, and if
For
it's
sure, yeah, we're gonna be looking at Perth, 100%. Yeah,
great.
and I
Okay.
do want to wrap up in the next 20 minutes because we can't
Yeah,
sit here for,
of
our
course.
whole morning.
I could check out 50
So
cities, but
yeah, so I'm gonna keep this one quite
okay.
short, but I do want to kind of give you that idea because there's also a beautiful Jupiter series line here, which there's some expansiveness as well, but also some
Yeah,
comfort. So I think you'll feel good here, but it's chaotic. There's a lot happening. That's kind of my
that is how I feel when I'm
um
there. Absolutely.
perfect. So that sums it up perfectly. And, do you want an extra, for example, have a second home there? Could be really cool. Could be a great place to be once in a while. Do you want to settle there and, slowly grow old? I don't think so.
Okay,
Potentially.
great.
Let's just say if it were me. I would not choose for that. However, you're a very different person. And I would almost not be surprised if, technology is such a big part of who you are that maybe that's the story, that's the self line. So I'm not going to shoot it down because it is a great and fun place. But if it were me and I were looking for more comfort, then that would not be the place. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Okay, let's look at Perth now before we run out of time because we really want to look into it. Sorry, it's really busy whenever I
Wow,
mean,
it's just the
talking about
line
software,
converging. Yeah, it's
I'm
converging
talking
right
to
on
like the
purpose.
biggest I'm talking to the biggest investor of like software and tech startups, and I have a software that looks like it was built in the 80s. So I'm very sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's very descriptive. Wow, look at all
I've
this.
heard I know there's a lot happening here. I've heard a small rumor that we're getting Google Maps on this soon, so
Oh,
that
wow,
would
cool.
be a huge investment. That would be great. Okay. So what are we seeing in Perth? Do you want to share the story in Perth?
Yeah, I went there, in 2010, so 15 years ago. I went to kitesurf there, and, so much has unfurled from that trip. I met,
Mm,
Melanie Perkins there. I became an adjunct professor at the local university there. My kite trip grew and grew and grew, and now it's a 5,000 person annual technology festival called West Tech Fest. That's a week long. It's like a small version of South by Southwest. So it seems like naturally things just happen when I'm there. And
yeah,
who'd have guessed it's, all the way on the other side of the planet. But when I came there to kite, it just turned into amazing things. So it's
great.
led
That's
to
really
great.
beautiful. And
A lot of companies have come
yeah,
out of it from that trip.
that's amazing. And I'm seeing two big stories there as you're sharing this. First of all, we have um, this line coming here, right? That one's very close to Perth, and it is Mars on the descendant. So it's a partnership line. And Mars, your Mars is that in that house of money of um, investments, literally. And now bringing that Mars into your partnership story, meeting people there that you're going to go on this partnership journey with. So that is a big story there. And this is not Mars is not for love. Mars is for like hard work and dedication and success. Mars wants to work hard. So that's the first one. And that fits in very well with the story you just told me. And then the other one is this one that's coming here. And this is one of those local space lines that comes from your birthplace that I said you kind of need to be on it to feel it. And Perth is on it. Like that is close enough, let's say, to be on it. And Pluto stands for intense transformation. So you saying that a lot came out of that is so special because it really transformed your life in many ways, is what you're
It
saying,
has.
actually.
No question. No
Yeah.
question.
So those two lines also, whenever those planetary lines, so that Mars line crosses with one of those local space lines, there's usually an extra like boost of energy there, and they are crossing right here. So Perth, in that sense, is a very driven and successful spot for you. Not again like a spot of hard work and of transformation, um, but very interesting for sure. Very interesting indeed. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to know about Perth that I can look into?
Nope, I think that's a good summary.
That's it. Perfect. Okay. Um, so let's see, we have 15 minutes is kind of when I want to cap it. Does that sound good to you?
That's great.
Perfect. So I am going to briefly, just so that I make sure I tick everything on your list, look at Boston, and then I'm going to name about one or two, depending on the time, places that I found. But let's look into Boston quickly. Boston, I really like. Boston's right here. Boston, I really, really like. There's quite some driven energy there. Um, we have, oh, I've lost, here we go. So what I'm seeing is here this Mars ascendant line. Again, Mars, now on the ascendant within yourself. And in Perth, it was on the descendant with others. So now it's more you bring that drive within yourself and you have, that you go good on that energy because Mars is actually your best, one of your better planets, which I really like for you. So you'll feel driven there, not exactly calm, but driven. But then on the other side, you have this one here. I'm actually going to turn off these local space lines because those are not important here and they make it so busy. You have this one here, which is also a self line, and it's the moon. And that again brings more that emotional connection. So you have Mars and the moon, both within the self. I think brings a really cool balance of energy and emotional, like softness in a sense. So that's really good. And then those are the main line stories. I think, oh no, actually, it's kind of hidden here and you can barely see it with the color, but there's a Venus line. It's all the way here on the side. It's a home line, and Venus home lines, best place to live on. So I could almost see you go more that way, which is almost towards where you were born, actually. But you'll still feel that in Boston. It is still medium strength, actually. So that's good. I'm loving that for living on. So that's great. And then if we zoom in the story I saw here, uh, there's actually two lines with influence. The bottom one, both are very positive, very positive. Easy conversation is that one that goes straight over Boston, really easy conversation, connection with people. And then the top one, just above here, is still within medium strength. That line is so much fun. You'll just be enjoying and eating, and you almost have to be careful that you don't eat too much, like that kind of energy. Like you'll be loving life in that sense. So I'm really liking Boston in that sense. And there were some beautiful things. It's actually very close to your natal birth chart, and especially your home placement within that fourth house was really, really good for feeling at home. So I'm kind of liking Boston. There's something about that I like. Could you see yourself living there?
I went to graduate school there, so there is a kind of a place in my historic heart there, and it's one of the couple of cities, before San Francisco got too crowded and overrun by tech bros. I think San Francisco and Boston were kind of the two cities in America I really liked. Yeah, so I do like the city. It's good size. It's not overcrowded, but it's modern and nice and historic at the same time.
Nice. All right. Well, it has beautiful energy for you. So I mean, you've already lived there, so you've kind of already experienced that energy, which is great. And you had great study times there, I'm sure. So yeah, in a sense, you already have experience. I'm glad you have because there's some beautiful energies there. So you have been able to enjoy that. And I'm sure you had some fun during your studies.
Yeah,
Must have.
definitely, definitely.
Good. Good. All right, I'm quite curious to one area actually, and I think we're going to close with that. I think that's a beautiful
Okay.
place to end it, if that sounds good to you. I'll just mention the other one because I want you to know that if you ever want to go on a nice holiday, go to New Zealand maybe. I don't know if you've
Oh,
been,
I
but
have. I
that's a
love
nice
it
spot
there.
for a holiday. Do you like
Yeah,
it?
I love it there.
Okay. Amazing. I'm not going to go into it, but generally everything was like, oh, go on holiday here. Maybe don't live there, but just go on a nice trip.
Yeah. No, New Zealand's a
Um,
beautiful country, and it's very green and wild, and Australia is a little drier, of course, depending on where you are. But
yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, but New Zealand is just it's rugged and it's a wonderful place. I have friends that
Nice.
have
All
moved
right.
there too.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. Well, definitely go back whenever you can because you'll
Yeah.
definitely be enjoying it over there. And I was kind of curious to the area. I was wondering if you had been there, either Thailand, Singapore, or like Bali area. Have you been
I've
to
been to
any of
all of
those?
those, yes. And,
Of course you have.
yeah, and I haven't been to Thailand for a long, long time. Yeah, it's always very stimulating because it's such a interesting culture. Um,
Hmm.
Singapore is a little bit like Switzerland of Asia. you feel very safe, very secure. It's a bit
Yeah.
sterile, everything's expensive, but you know what you're gonna get, and it's a very, predictable place.
Yeah.
Um, Bali, at the time I was there, and I know it's been built out a lot more since, really just amazing. Just, it's very spiritual at the time, very spiritual. Now I hear it's overrun with too many tourists and hotels, but,
Sure.
yeah, but we are gonna do I
Uh,
think we may do something in Bali, at one of our ACTI trips in 2026, so I'm excited to check it out again.
nice. That's very cool. And why I'm especially, they all kind of have beautiful energy here. The reason I'm asking is that there's a crossing of there's a lot of Venus energy here, which is very abundant. There's your Venus career line, um, which is very, yeah, just a very abundant and passionate and beautiful, loving career line in a sense, with your local space line crossing nearby, which is that place, that line that came from your birthplace. And when they cross, they create these destiny points. And the destiny point is actually a bit higher up. It's actually more in China, but they
Hmm,
stay really close. I don't know if you can see, but they are both here between. Um, they stay really close the entire way down, all the way from Thailand to Singapore and kind of to the side of Bali. But why Bali and Thailand specifically caught my attention, and I'll go to Bali to show and explain, is that there's two horizontal Paran lines, one of which is the ultimate wealth line. So I was curious if in Thailand or in Bali, if any, you know, big decisions, whether, whether they had to do with investments or whether you made success there, because they're like the ultimate wealth lines. But yeah, has anything in that sense?
not yet, but it's interesting because I do have a company that is, their product is spreading a lot in Indonesia right now,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
that company is called Liven, and, they are part of the impetus to have us throw a function in Bali. We were gonna throw a function in Bali just before COVID, but we had to cancel it because COVID broke out. And, so, we'll be there next year, and, maybe something magical is gonna happen there like it did in Perth. We'll find out.
It's very, very exciting. I think it's a perfect spot for you to go. It is close to actually the similar Mars line that passed right by Perth as well, because that's kind of coming up that way. So we're liking that energy for you as well as this horizontal Paran line that's just bringing some proper success. So I thought that would be a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Do you have
No, I'm
any
looking
last
forward.
questions before I close the map?
No, no, I think that was, very informative, and, um, a lot of the things that were brought out about different places seem to, fit what has historically already happened,
Yeah.
and I'm even more excited to see what will happen in Bali now than I was before.
Exactly, exactly. And if we kind of looked at these, we looked at a few, five spots actually for you to potentially move. If you kind of just let it sink in for a second, because I know it's a lot of information and I'm sure it's all going to have to sink in more in the days to come. But what's kind of intuitively from what we've seen today, where are you being pulled towards?
I think for many years, I have been funding, houses in Jackson Hole anyway, and, working with, some companies there on some things. So I I imagine, unless things change, that, the default would be that I'd have, a place there for my kids and their kids someday. Um, Bend is kind of a it's a beautiful place, but it feels like more of a vacation spot, and I
Yeah.
don't feel like I could get a lot of work done there, but I do enjoy being there. So I kind of imagine maybe another, possibly a place there that is,
Yeah.
seasonal. Um, yeah, so it kind of fits what has already been kind of in the plan. If I call it a plan, it's not a hard plan, but, things are always changing. But,
Yeah.
yeah,
That feels really good. Yeah.
the energy mapping, fits kind of how I feel in those places.
Exactly. Yeah, it really does. And even going through it, you have a beautiful chart, and even on the map, like every story you meant or every place you mentioned already had a beautiful story, and there wasn't a single place where I was like, mm-mm, don't go there. Uh, but intuitively, if you want to really move, I think Jackson could be a really beautiful place to, set up what you say to build this housing for your kids and your grandkids. What a beautiful idea to work towards.
Thank you. Well, thank you
Amazing.
for doing this, Annabelle, and, I don't know how all my, relatives that, viewed this feel about astrocartography, but they might be reaching out to get a reading.
Exactly. I mean, it's not just you that's moving, right? So we might have to dive a little bit deeper. I want to quickly just give 1 minute if anyone has any questions. Maybe your family wants to put something in the chat. If anyone has questions, then I we can quickly answer those. And we're getting some thumbs up, which is great. And in general, I'm just hoping to see you again soon, Bill. That would be great. We've been
Yeah.
chatting already.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, well, I'll be in Greece, with Lars, we're doing something in June. So we have an
Yeah.
Greece thing, I think the 3rd week of June. So I don't know if you can come by to that, but that might be kind of fun.
I I may have marked it in my calendar already.
Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Great.
So no, we'll see what's possible, but we'll have a chat. And I'd be super honored to
Great.
be a part of one of your events again and to catch up like old
Yes,
times.
absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. I see no further questions coming in, but I saw your family sending some love, so that's really beautiful. So I think that's a beautiful place to, yeah, to close it. And thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today on your Sunday morning, and your patience to look into all of this information. And if you have any questions, you'll let me know anyways. Um,
Thank you.
but for now,
Thank you,
thank you.
Annabelle, and thanks everybody for, dropping in to listen.
All right. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.